For our first lesson on time today, we're going to be talking about time to the nearest minute. So we're going to unlock our problem about Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day is February 2nd, and people say that if a groundhog can see its shadow on that morning, winter will last another 6 weeks. So the clock shows the time when the groundhog saw its shadow. What time was it? Okay, so we need to know the time that it was when the groundhog saw its shadow. So it says, what does the hour hand tell you? Well, our hour hand tells us, of course, the hour, but that it was 7, because if you look at our hour hand here, it's in between the 7 and 8. So it has passed the 7, but it hasn't reached the 8 yet. And the minute hand is telling us that it is actually on the 7 here, okay? So in order to find the minutes, we can count by 5s around the clock, which has already started for us. So 5, 10, 15, this is going to be 20, 25, 30, 35. So the minute hand tells us it is at 35 minutes, okay? So we are correct. It says right 7:35, and it says in 1 minute, the minute hand moves from one mark to the next on a clock. It takes 5 minutes for a minute hand to move from one number to the next on a clock. Okay, so you can count on by 5s to tell the time to 5 minutes. Okay, starting at 0 where the 12 is here. Here they just want us to write 35, so that would be this here, 7:35, and 35 minutes after 7 is another way to say it. So the groundhog saw its shadow at 7:35 a.m. Counting by 5s is one way to help you, okay? And so we're going to look at this clock, and it's asking us, what does the hour hand tell us? So here's our hour hand again. It is in between the 1 and 2 and past the 1, so the hour is 1. And the minute hand is interesting. This time we are not on one of the main numbers. We're on the separate numbers, which is telling time to the minutes. So what you can do is start by counting at 0 at our O clock and counting by 5. So we counted 5, 10, 15, 20, and then you want to count the individual dashes by ones. 21, 22, 23. So the minute hand tells us that it's 23 minutes. My pen doesn't like me. There we go. So when you're trying to figure out the minutes on the clock, you can count by 5s, stop there, and then start counting by 1s. So our time for this clock is going to be 1:23. And that looks not so good. So we're just going to take it for what we can. Okay, so count on by 5s and 1s from the 12 on the clock where the minute hand is pointing, and then write the missing counting numbers. If you know that 1 is 5 minutes and 2 is 10 minutes, and you know what all of these numbers are, that's really great, because if it was here and you know the 6 is 30 minutes, then you can start from 30, okay? So you want to make sure that you're counting those individual dashes for counting the minutes. When a clock shows 30 or fewer minutes after the hour, you can read the time as the number of minutes after the hour, okay? Another way to find the minutes before the hour, you can look at this clock. We're going to try it differently, okay? We can go backwards, actually, from it. And so the hour hand is telling us it's in between the 2 and the 3. It has passed the 2, so it's 2. And then what this is showing us is counting by 5s and 1s from the 12 back to where the minute hand is pointing and writing the missing counting numbers next to the clock. Okay, so we know that our time here is 2:43. 8 is 40 and 1, 2, 3. But what they're asking us to do is start at the 12 and go backwards. 5, 10, 15, 16, and 17 minutes until the next hour. So there's 17 minutes before 3 o'clock, okay? That's another way to look at it, but the time is definitely 2:43. So when a clock shows 31 or more minutes after the hour, you can read the time as a number of minutes before the next hour, okay? We're going to do a couple practice ones. So how would you use counting and the minute hand to find the time shown on this clock? Well, we know that it is 1 and it's very, very close to 25, okay? So if you know that the 5 is 25 minutes, you can count 1 back to give you the time of 1:24, okay? And I don't know if I can get those circles on there or not. Okay. And by circles, I mean our colon to separate the hour and the minute. So write the time, write one way you can read the time. So our time here, don't get fooled that the hour hand is so close to the 3. We're not at 3 o'clock yet, okay? There are actually 4 minutes to 3 o'clock, which is one way we can read that time, okay? So this is actually going to be 2, and then if we count it around 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 56. So the time here is 2:56, or you could say it's 4 minutes to 3 o'clock. Looking here, our hour hand is in between the 6 and 7. That means it's past the 6, so it is 6. And in counting again, 5, 10, 15, 16, and 17 right there. So our hour is 6:17 or 17 minutes after 6 o'clock. And we know, of course, using a digital clock, you don't have to really read the hands. You could just say, well, 10:45 or 11:45 o'clock, which is something that we learned in our math vocabulary video. Write the time in one way you can read it. Well, 3:12 is exactly how you read that clock. If we look at 6 and 7, we can see that our hour hand is in between 10 and 11, past the 10. So our time for this is going to be 10. And then if you know that this is the 6 is 30 and you know that the 9 is 45, you can count 45, 50, 45, 46, 47, and 48, which gives us the time of 10:48. And for this clock, we can see that it is a little past the 6, close to the 6, and it's on the 2. So the time is, the hour is 6 and 10 minutes. So 6:10 is the answer. We're going to move on to our next lesson on time. Please make sure you watch all the lesson videos.